So this is Growing Up Cannabis, episode Black Lives Matter and Cannabis. We'll be discussing the current Black Lives Matter movement and also the use of and the industry of recreational weed and those incarcerated wrongfully and also not getting their cases revived. My special guest today is Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Lisa, how do you feel reflecting on our current state right now with the Black Lives Matter movement, with minorities, specifically Black men, being incarcerated, while there's white men in the industry of cannabis making money off of what men are pretty much in prison for unreasonable sentences or just not getting their sentences revised, to free them, like it's a big slap in the face, a lot of people would say. How do you feel about that?
I would feel the same way if I was them, because white people are capitalizing on stuff that we used to get in trouble for. It's yeah, cool, you guys want to make money off of it as well, great, but now there's people's lives that stop because they was trying to do the same thing with the same product. So it's kind of like somebody trying to sell tear gas and they're like, oh no, you can't do that because it's illegal, but the police is throwing tear gas at freaking protesters. So it's like, pick one. Like, which one is it? Is it illegal? And if it's not illegal, and you could have a certain amount of weed, I feel like people that have the same amount, like, you see how in New York there's a certain amount of weed if you get stopped, and they'll let you go with like a warning or whatever, like kind of like that. Like, so if people had the same amount of weed caught and they was arrested for that and they're doing time for that, I feel like there should be an early release for them, because what they went in for is not even illegal anymore. That don't even make sense. It's like they're taking up space, and then there's people like the police that killing people on camera. They're all out here walking out on bail, not even getting prosecuted or anything, and you're just throwing someone for having the possession of weed. Like, that does not make sense to me. It's a weird system.
Yeah, I would say it's ironic. It reflects on how broken the system is, and it reflects who's in favor of the system, and that obviously is the white man. I'm not to say that there isn't white men that do get arrested, but they won't face the same harsh consequences.
It's usually like the white men that they say is like the bottom of the barrel kind of thing. Like, oh, they're not even really that good. Like, they might as well be. Like, I've heard people say shit like that. Like, say things like that. Like, oh, white trash is basically black people, but they're only white. Like,
yeah, exactly. The bottom of the barrel, the ones that are economically defunded or impoverished, are the ones that are facing the same consequences, but still not as harsh. But they're trying to make an example, or pretty much picking and choosing who they're going to be like, well, the system isn't in favor of all white men. Let's make an example out of this one because he's not to our economic status.
Yeah.
He can't do anything, and he can't afford the lawyers to fight back.
And the stuff that they use us to like show that we are like we're the example. We're always like the exemplary of trying new things. Like, it's kind of like even back in the day when they were doing surgery on women without any anesthesia, because they felt that black women can take that kind of pain. And it's kind of ironic because it's like the only reason you feel like that is because you used to beat black women to death and they were still alive. So you figured, oh, they could take that kind of pain. They could take any kind of pain. Like,
it's like one big circus. Is like how I think about it.
Yeah, like, you see how modern day slavery really plays slavery from back in the day plays a part in modern day slavery a lot more now. And it's in so many ways that it's like, yo, like, it's like, how can I put this? It's like, when does it give? Like, when is it like, okay, like, you guys have helped us, not even helped us, you guys have built this to help us get so much capitalism and so much property, so much, even down to the point of them taking a bath. Like, we used to take these people baths, like, so it's like the fact that some, I don't know, it was one white person that said we are superior, and I don't understand that part. Like, that part never makes sense, because it's like, we're all the same. The only thing that makes us different is how we was raised and how we look. Like, it's like, it's such a tedious topic, because there's certain things that will get under your skin, that will be like, yo, like, you might as well just do eye for an eye at the end of the day, because I feel like that's the only language that they can speak. So it's like, this gel thing is like making the example out of the one white boy, and it's like, you only giving them a slap on the wrist, 1 to 3 years in prison, but you're giving black men that probably only caught with like an eighth of weed, and you're giving them 5 to 10 years, like, with probation at the end. So it doesn't make sense at all. Even the slaps on the wrist don't make sense. Like,
yeah, and the people that are signing off on these laws to make weed illegal, make a certain amount of weed illegal to have, or fine, or incriminate, are people that are also pretty much making money off of the industry now, because they see it's one big cash cow. I would look at it as a circus, and the politics and the white men are the audience, and the black men in prison and not getting their cases revived are pretty much the show, the circus, and that's what they're watching. But they're like, don't care about their lives, they're just throwing away their lives. Like, they're pretty much just letting them sit in prison and rot while they make money off of what they're exactly in prison for. Because there is quotas that they need to meet. Because if they want to keep getting funding, if they want to keep seeing money, they have to keep imprisoning the men that can't afford legal presentation. All they could afford is the government appointing them a lawyer pro bono, pretty much somebody that's had too many cases, that's too tired, that doesn't have literally the time or the energy to revise everything so delicately, or be at so many trials so many times, or help with appeal letters. And like, how many of these people's families could even help them with the appeal letters, because how much of the legal system they comprehend. And then they're also running out of money to help fight in court too. Some people simply just want to get their case closed. Not closed, but they just want it to be able to be, I'm forgetting the word, they just want to be able to get a job without anybody looking into their background, their case field. That's the word. They want to get their case field so they could actually have a chance of getting a job after they serve time, or little to no time, or back and forth in and out of court, have this on their record, just trying to get a new life started. There's a lot of people that would be wrongfully imprisoned right now that say they would want to go back into the cannabis industry to make money off of what they know, to get in on that green money, to get into that cash flow, because it's like, you wrongfully did me for something that you're making so much money for, which is something they have like knowledge on, something they can make money with, something they're familiar with, something that they know will always be in use, but at a legal aspect. How do you feel about that with people in prison for weed and then coming back to the cannabis industry, trying to rightfully make the money out of the industry that they know?
I feel like it's admirable, because it's like, you're still trying to put yourself in that risk, because it's still like, I feel like it's still kind of I feel like it's still the same way. Like, I feel like if they find a black person with a certain amount of weed, they're still gonna want to take them. Like, my best friend literally was about to get arrested for that. She literally had to go to court and all of that, like just for having a half. I think it was like an eighth of weed, but she had a scale as well. So they was trying to say like, oh, she's probably trafficking weed and she's trying to take weed somewhere or deliver it somewhere. And it's like, if you found a white person with that amount of weed on a scale, would you have given them a warning, or you would have told them they had to go to court and give them a ticket? Like, so it's like, I feel like it's admirable because they're still trying to take what's theirs back, but it's still a risk because they still looked at it as different at the end of the day. So it's like, things that go for them is not the same thing that will go for us. Like,
yeah,
there's still
there's a line that they can't cross.
Yeah, like there's still underground dispensaries, like, and imagine how much they're taxing off of people that actually have their own strands and their own weed businesses. Imagine how much taxing they're taking out of them so they could get their taxes back, and they're probably not even paying any taxes. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's kind of the same thing with the stop and frisk. Like, I think it's so disgusting that Michael Bloomberg thought it was a good thing to run for presidency. Like, half the people that got arrested on stop and frisk was African American, like, and Latinx. Like, 6,085 people were stopped on a daily basis. If they were caught with 2 dime bags of weed, they would have been arrested. Like, you know how many people are arrested off of that one thing that he passed? Like, and it's like, now they're in jail. You're running for presidency, and now you're like flaunting Black people all over your commercials. Like, but you wasn't for the people when you started to stop and frisk. When they were profiling, because that's the profiling you told them to take when they're doing the stop and frisk. Like, it's just a lot of things that go on in this industry it shows everything is unequal. Like, we're not equals at all. Like, look, only like 10% of white people were stopped and frisk. Just now in 2019, it was 9%. Like, it was 66% innocent people. Like, Black people, 59%, and Latinx, 29%. Like, just in 2019. So imagine when you first started doing this. So when they first started doing this, it was
when they thought they were rightfully doing it as well for all ages, like people with police power.
Yup. In 2002, they started. 97,296 people were stopped on record, but 80,176 people were innocent, meaning 82% of people that you stopped and frisked and you arrested and you took them to jail, whether it was for 24 hours or a couple hours, you still took them to jail. That's still an experience. And they were innocent. Like, doesn't make sense. 54% of Black people, 31% of Latinx, and 12% white people. And the ages was 14 to 24, and it was 55% of the people that they stopped and frisked. So that means they used touching minors without their parents, without permission, without you didn't even really have a right. Like, half the people that they was stopping looked in minority to them. Like, it's crazy.
As well as, like, we have police power cases, we have Central Park 5, and many other people before that, after that, Emmett Till, even though that hasn't like all these cases have nothing to do with cannabis, but it just shows the black man's world in the legal system. And I would say, growing up in Harlem, there was a lot of boys that did run around and didn't think much because they're like, well, the cops wanted to stop me since I was born anyway. So it's like, it's just gonna get me money until I get stopped.
Yeah.
That is already there.
Literally. And they literally tell them that they're nothing and nobody's gonna love them. Like, the process of getting, like, handcuffed and all of that, like, I remember seeing my little cousin get arrested, like, and they are hitting him while he's in the car and pushing his head, acting like they missed pushing his head inside the car and hitting him on his neck, like, with the car. Like, it's so much things that is like, would you do this if this was your child? Would you do this if this was your family, if this was someone that you loved? Would you have done that? And that's where inhumane characteristics come in. Because it's like, I feel like even when you're having an argument with, like, let's say, like, you're having an argument with an elder, right? You're arguing, but then you're like, yo, in your head, you're like, yo, this could be my grandmother, this could be my aunt, and somebody could be talking to them like this, and I would not like that. Even if they're in the wrong, like, at the end of the day, it's a humane characteristic to have, like, but I feel like people really don't have that. Like, certain people really be like, I don't care, like, it's not my family, so I don't care. But it's like, what if it was?
Some people are like that, and then the community that is being attacked is like, that's not my family, but that is my community, and you're attacking my community, and that is a boy. Like, I know, like, our aunts, your grandmother, like, they would protect all the young boys around. They all grew up with the young boys. And, like, yeah, it's a whole world of cannabis, a whole world of indulging in cannabis in New York, and we know that. But it's still a community. And, like, now they're saying, like, poverty isn't a choice. Poverty was how the system was built, and they put who they wanted at the bottom, and they deprived them of the necessities to get up in higher ranking of middle class, and that's just how the system was set up.
Yeah.
They like to say it's a choice, but it's not. It's how you treat people, how you instill the people, what you're funding into that community and what you're not funding into the community.
And go ahead.
With the cannabis industry, I would say they're funding that for white men, because now even black women, minority women, LGBTQ women are getting into the cannabis industry and still not seeing the same respect because they're not a white man. They don't have enough money. These white men already had old money to invest. They grew their money. They had investors when, like, there's so much doubt in a minority group. And then a woman of color is a minority group within itself. A woman of color and LGBTQ is another group. Like, that's a triple threat right there. And when you don't have old money and you don't have white skin, you get looked at and you don't get the investments that you need, you don't get the chance that you need. If anything, you get pushed down, and then you have to work 10 times as harder as the next person.
Because you have to
for half of a dollar.
Because at this point, you have to prove yourself. You got to prove that you belong at that table. You got to prove that you have something to offer that they don't have to offer. Now you got to be a unicorn. You got to probably have all the jack of tricks that they have, but for them to see, like, oh, okay, this person probably very serious. It's like, what is it to give? Like, what is it to give to say that we're equals? Like, why is it so hard to believe that statement? Like,
that's another thing with revising cases. Why won't you revise these cases? Why won't you look into these cannabis cases? You're literally using it for recreational use.
They lose money.
Yeah, exactly. They're losing money, and they also don't want anybody in the street.
They make, you see how they say, like, oh, if you make $30,000 a year, you're like low income.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Think about it like this, right? Every prisoner that's in jail right now is making the white man 33 or more $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
Now imagine if there's 300 inmates in Gen Pop. There's 200 in SEG. There's another 100 that's probably getting transferred to your jail right now. Imagine how much money that is. Why would they give that up?
Yeah. They're going to keep pushing off cases. They're going to make the some people exist. Just like Rikers Island.
Exactly.
The worst prison in the world. If not the second. Still the worst prison in the world. People go there and pretty much go there to die or be forgotten and mistreated and abused. With no chance. And their hope has died out for a majority of the prisoners. For cases like Police Bauer that literally pretty much had nothing, and he spent 3 years in prison over literally a false accusation because his court case kept getting pushed.
Was it 300 days that he stood in
solitary
isolation?
Yeah. And that was also another thing that gave him a mental breakdown. And then ultimately he committed suicide when he was home because of all the things he went through while on Rikers Island. And the news even published his beatings by the police, the video of a bunch of inmates fighting with him, and then putting him in solitary, and still not looking at his appeal, and still not bringing him to court because his lawyer wasn't ready, and his lawyer was pro bono. So it was a lawyer appointed by the court who had a bunch of other cases. So he kept pushing him to the side. And that's another thing we grow up with. People going to jail and never coming back, or people going to jail and serving way more time than they should have, or people going back to jail.
Turning crazy.
Yeah, or people going in and out of jail because their name is already in the system.
Like, I remember there was this episode on Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, and Stabler had imprisoned someone, and he was in isolation for like a good 2 months or whatever, and the guy ended up like killing himself or something. He ended up going crazy, and Stabler couldn't understand like why he went crazy like that. So he was like, I'm gonna do something, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I need to do this. And Olivia's like, what happened? Like, what do you need to do? And he's like, I really need to go into isolation like that. Like, he literally went into a hole, the hole that they put him, the same guy in, and he said, yo, keep me in the hole for like 3 days. 3 days. And he did it, and he almost, like, when the guard opened the door, he was like, I told you to keep me in there for 3 days. 3 days. He was like, it hasn't even been one. Like it's been like maybe a day and a half. It hasn't even been like the whole 3 days that you want me to keep you in there. And look how you get it.
From overheating, like no ventilation. Literally, you never leave it. You don't go like out for an hour. Your meals come to you.
I feel like you could create psychosis like that. Like, people get schizophrenic from being in a hole. Like
especially those that are claustrophobic.
Like, look at
and they don't care about that.
When he went home, his mom kept on saying that he was talking to people. He was with like little bottles and stuff, acting like they was talking in the dark. Yeah. But that's how he stood in the house. No one. 300 days in solitary. That's all he could do. When he finally gets a little, not even better, but like, you know, he's actually trying to live his life a little bit. He's trying to do certain things. Y'all want to kill him? Like, now people want to kill him because they think he's rich. He's still living in the Bronx.
Yeah, because of the case. And then he also got paranoid because he knew he was already in the system. So he's like, the cops are always going to be out to get me, which I feel like is a black man's fear. Once you're in the system, you're always in the system. Tupac Shakur had the same fear as well.
Everybody was looking at him as he was famous. And it's like, why would you even want to be famous off of something like that? Why would you even call it famous? That's not, like, it's crazy. Like, it sucks. And then we out here killing each other too. Now we at war with each other. And this is exactly what they wanted. This is exactly what they want at the end of the day. They want us to kill each other. So they don't have to do it. And it's not their fault. It's our fault.
Yeah. With the Black Lives Matter movement, the way the aggression of the cops is being, the cops not handling anything, the cops handling everything wrong, politics not happening in the favor of minorities.
And then they just found this woman, this beautiful woman that was serving a country that is so, that is supposed to be so free to be here.
A 20-year-old too, not even a...
Now she's a woman. She's a
woman, but at what cost? Like,
like it's
a child. How many years did she was 20? And did she just turn 20? Was she just like, she didn't even see 21?
Yo, like, I just felt like, you know what's crazy too? I saw a post the other day that was like, because you know how they're always coming at immigrants as well.
Yeah.
So they're like, the post was like, oh, all that person would be like, oh, go back to your country or whatever, like, and then somebody was like, oh, why they gotta go back to their country? And then they was like, oh, you can go to their country too, like, you can leave America if you don't like America. And then they was like, and then it was like the Mean Girls Regina thing, and they was like, oh, so you do agree that if you don't like your country, you can go to another country. And it's like, we could be like, oh my God, I could go move to London right now. But why is America so complicated to get in? Like, I understand we have a lot of populism here, and there's a lot, the American dream thing and all of that, and we will get overpopulated. But if it's so free around the world to go to each and every country that we want to, why is it not like that here? And it's supposed to be the land of the free. And now they're trying to take all the international students back to their country because of online classes.
I think also you have to think where these people are coming from. These countries that they're escaping is countries, like especially Hispanic countries. A large part of that is literally cartel. Whether it's cocaine or cannabis, they've seen it. They probably, their parents, their parents, their children have probably worked in these fields. Like, think about it. They grew up this way. They grew up with this lifestyle. They know what it is to be a minority and to be stereotyped, to be stopped and frisked, to be working on these fields because they had no option. Like, think about it. All these boys growing up in poverty have no option. Or they don't have the easiest way to make more options for themselves. So they get into cannabis.
They don't even get an opening anything.
And completely shut down because of the color of their skin. So they're getting into what they know. They're getting into what is provided. They're getting into what the minority communities are getting. Like, just like so many documentaries are like, yeah, crack cocaine was put into all of these impoverished communities because they will find the money for it. They will ruin their lives for it, but they'll still pay for it. They will lose everything for it because they have nothing else to lose. And that's the way the government looks at it. When drugs first came to the United States, when cocaine came in, when crack cocaine, when meth came in, they looked at poverty levels.
But when the white kids want to come and have fun, the first thing they do is go to the black community and cop cocaine. Like,
and cannabis. If you think about it, cannabis. There's like who on the corner. Let's find a man on the corner. We all know that's the stereotype. If there's somebody in the corner, you ask somebody in the corner. But literally, their parents can afford the court fees, the lawyer fees. They don't need somebody pro bono. When they do things like that, they don't question it. They don't
can get witnesses to lie. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world.
Their parents have friends that are judges. Their parents have friends that are cops, but not their parents are cops. Like, realistically, think about it. The legal system is built for them. For white men with money, white women with money, and then black men are in the bottom of the barrel, and then black women are constantly being in prison for self-defense.
Yeah.
The legal system is not in favor of minorities. The legal system is not in favor of an economic class of impoverished people or working class or single mother homes. Like, they're like, oh, he has a single mother. Of course he was going to get into his lifestyle. Of course he's going to sell cannabis. Of course he's going to sell drugs because he had no father figure. He has a broken home. He has to provide. He's looking at himself as the male figure. So who's there to protect him when he needs protecting? The legal system was supposed to be in the legal system field. All these young black men with no counsel, no money, and no figure to look up to. All they know is get money by all means. And which realistically the white man is doing. He doesn't care when he's getting money as long as he's getting more money. The only thing is that the legal system is in his favor. His old money is in his favor. His opportunities are more open. His parents' old opportunities are more open. His connections, his skin color has created the opportunity alone. Because I would say, growing up in a single-parent home, my mom has grown some of the strongest children, realistically.
Yeah.
And like, it's not that way for everybody because of certain environments. And it's the truth, but certain environments are do or die, and environments are make money or be broke and don't have anything. And then that's when people get swept up into the streets, and honestly the legal system just takes them when they're most vulnerable.
Yeah, for real.
When they're seeing literally the only way they can make money. With Black Lives Matter, it's like the headlines are always different for a white man versus a black man. When it comes to cannabis cases, it's like drug bust versus let's say Brad was in college growing a small plant. He was just experimenting. He didn't know any better. He's getting his degree and nothing had to do with cannabis.
Exactly.
That alone changes stereotypes. That alone just titles. It could be the same newspaper. Like, we all know Fox 5. Everybody knows Fox 5 is false news. That's really the equivalent of what the legal system is doing. It's making an example of the impoverished white man, but it won't make an example out of the rich white man.
Yep.
Because realistically, all their money is circling together. All their investments are circling together. All those country clubs, all those golf meetings, all circling together. And with Black Lives Matter, there's so many people out here just like rallying, trying to peacefully protest, trying to make a statement, trying to make a point. And there is a lot of white people using their skin to get the message across safely, that know they can safely do it, that are trying to protect people with colored skin, that are trying to inform and educate their own family members. And also the cannabis industry, there's a lot of white cannabis owners that are trying to provide like legal lawyers for people that need to get their cases revised. Like, we don't like Kim Kardashian and Kanye West right now because of Kanye West's stunt with presidency, but Kim Kardashian used her pull to get many people out of prison. Like, she used it. It's a publicity stunt, but at the end of the day, people are getting out of jail. It's like full circle. Her father was a lawyer, and then he got O.J. Simpson off. And to this day, so many documentaries will still point out O.J. Simpson, but Her father did it. He got him off, and now OJ's been in and out of jail with DUI.
I just don't understand why now that they're in the cannabis business, why they rising all the freaking prices. Like, now it's starting to get real inexpensive to even smoke.
Well, even the medical, like, providing of cannabis, like, think about it, like, there's things like insulin that takes, like, pretty much 1% of what it costs to make it, but they're still overcharging it. Cannabis, they see a medical need for it, they're going to overcharge it and limit you how much you can have. So then that brings people to running out of funds to obtain that, and then going to grow their own plants. I'm doing restorative justice pieces right now where this lady's husband had arthritis, had literally an eye issue, and the only thing that helped him was the cannabis, and they just couldn't afford it anymore, and he wasn't getting enough to subside the pain, and his insurance like canceled as he was sitting on the surgery table to get his eye removed to get rid of the pain. So what happened? They had to pick something they could do, so they grew a plant. That's what they did. They grew a plant, and their house got raided.
Wow.
Yep. And their house got raided because of a family member calling the cops on them. And this was an elderly couple, and the husband ultimately died at the end of like all the legal things, and she's still suffering from that. She's a registered nurse. She can't do it unless she gives up her right and gets drug tested every month, even though she was trying to save a life, even though they didn't look into maybe charging her husband instead of her, because her husband's now like passed away tragically, and it hurts her because she had to sell everything for all her legal fees. And then on top of that, she can't even get a job because she would have to give up all of her rights pretty much.
It'll be your own family.
Yep, and now she's getting treated like property. And that's the legal system. That's literally the legal system.
Man, Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her bed and got shot.
Exactly.
This is crazy. I don't understand it. They so quick to arrest innocent white people, innocent black people, but not so quick to imprison guilty white people. Like literally,
like
on
Hillary
camera.
Clinton, the Clintons, the email, the videos with children, the sex rings. Donald Trump, Jeff Epstein's girlfriend now, or wife, whatever she was, is now in prison. They're really saying how long she's going to be dead from now.
And now they're seeing, like, they're looking at, like, last pictures of children. Like, you see how there was a little girl that was a pageant queen, and she went missing.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And one of the last pictures that was taken of that little girl of that day, she was there. She was.
John Bonet Ramsey.
Yo, like she was literally like, there's a picture of the little girl smiling, and right behind her, she's right behind her. Like,
and money has power. That's literally what that is. Money has power. The legal system has power.
It's crazy. And they're trying to say that she has corona. They're saying that they probably trying to kill her because she could talk about everything that happened.
And Jeff Epstein already had recording in all of his homes, but that was never released. You see? And then there's things like, it's like, how do you not release those things but you release black men's court cases? How do you jump to the conclusion of what the black men are doing? How do you create these fabricated stories of what a black man is doing to imprison him? You pull all the stops to imprison a black man, but you won't pull all the stops to save a black man.
Exactly. And that's my problem. It's like, you so quick to save a person that's guilty, but not quick to help a person that's normal. Innocent. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Literally, the cannabis industry is flourishing, and the men in prison right now are getting a huge slap in the face.
Yep.
Not getting their faces arise for not being able to be a part of the cannabis industry when they are eventually freed. And then being on probation so they can't even partake in cannabis. And then say if they do have, which is most likely, psychological problems from being in prison, from being mistreated, from being impoverished, from thinking about the life going back to that literally you have to start up, which gives you no options. Once again, that comes to full circle. You might need the medical cannabis, but what can you do? You can't get it because of your felony. That should have never been a felony. Now that these politicians that pass all these laws for it to be a felony are investing their money in the cannabis industry, that are opening their own dispensaries, that are making money off of that. It's literally, it enrages the people. It's sickening, and it's a huge slap in the face, and it needs to be fixed, but obviously not every case to be fixed. That is true.
Yes, but most cases should.
Yeah, but there is a percentage that can be changed, and the cannabis industry should put money into that, to the legal fees of these people. And not to say that there isn't people that are putting in money, but sure as hell not the white man that owns the dispensary putting in money, that's for sure. It's the dispensary owners that didn't have money to begin with that are putting in money, that they're funneling through literally the bare minimum of what they're passing. And just happy for another day of being in business, having an opportunity, not being in prison. Like Dave Chappelle said, he was there like, this is how I reflect on like a black-owned dispensary. Say they got robbed, his apartment in New York got robbed. He's like, I would never call the police because the police will think the robber's still there once they see me. And then they're going to be like, oh, he just put up all his family pictures. And then they'll imprison him because they think he's the robber, just because of stereotyping. Like the man that owned the store, he called the cops. What happened? The cops beat him up. Imagine a black-owned dispensary owner called the cops because they got robbed. Imagine that. And that's just how backwards the legal system is, with Black Lives Matter movement coming in, airing people out, the cannabis industry not being minority friendly, not being LGBTQ friendly unless they're making money off of it.
You're making way more money now. You taxing. Now you putting the prices up. It's getting harder for minorities to get to it because it's so much money now. Because now you got to charge people more money because you got to pay more money. Like, it's crazy.
It's like,
and like you said, it's like they feel like they put in the in poverty, in cases of poverty, to show people how, people will do anything to get it. Now they putting the prices up like they did cocaine, because cocaine was actually not even like when it became big is when it started becoming real pricey. Like even heroin is really probably the worst kind of drug. One of them. Like I think meth is the worst, but heroin is like $5. I didn't even know that. I was like, what? Like they could literally get high with $5, and it's the worst kind of weed.
Exactly. And they will do anything for that money. Because they have nothing to lose. And that's how the legal system sees it.
It's crazy.
But I just want to say thank you for talking with me, just reflecting on growing up with cannabis and Black Lives Matter movement and the mistreatment of the legal system, the economic value of the cannabis industry, the backwardness of politics and laws being signed off that are now making money off of the things they were against. Just thank you so much for talking with me and being raw and free and just being very open-minded.
Anytime.
Thank you. And
thank you for having me. I like it. I like you having me here.
Thanks. Maybe next episode. So this is Growing Up Cannabis, Black Lives Matter movement, and cannabis. Bye.
Bye.